in replacement for Dane Frizzell. And we're live.
So mark your own quiz. We'll give, of course, my favorite student, good old Anne. She gets everything right. Anne Serkey. It's amazing. 1 mark each. Number 1, all or nothing. Express in scientific notation. 5.5 times 10 to the quantum fourth. Yes? Count them fourth?
Yep.
4.2 times 10 to the negative 2. 3.64 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5?
Yes.
And 1.236 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 mark each, all or nothing. Gonna be a little fussy. Means if you got the exponent wrong, sorry, too bad, so sad. Number 2, perform the following operations on your calculator and correct number of sig figs and answer in scientific notation. Well, the first one is multiplying. That's 2 sig figs. That's 2 sig figs. My final answer is going to be 2 sig figs. It's going to be, turn the calculator on, 7.1. Scientific notation button. I'm not going to go times. I'm not going to go 10 to the power of. I'm going to use that scientific notation button to replace all of that. Negative 4 times 3.6. 3.6, Mr. Dueck. Scientific notation button. Negative 7. And I don't get 2.556 times 10 to negative 10. I get 2.6 times 10 to the negative 10, because I got to go to 2 sig figs. B, that's 3 sig figs, that's 2 sig figs, 2 sig figs. 1.42, scientific notation button, negative 5, divided by 4.3, scientific notation button, negative 15. You should get 3.3 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3.3 times 10 to the 9th, is that right?
Yep.
Now, look up for first, let me write this down. For those of you who are not using your scientific notation button, for those of you who are going 1.42 and then going times and then going 10 and then going to the power of and then going negative 5 divided by, and then you're going 4.3 and then you're going times and you're going 10 and you're going to the power of, besides all the extra typing, you'll notice you don't get the right answer. Your calculator doesn't know how to treat those numbers properly. The scientific notation button tells your calculator, Kyle, to treat each of those as one number, as though it's one thing. You get the right prefix, mantissa, but the power of 10 is wonky. Number 3. Okay. I need to write these in standard notation first. This is going to be 0.006 plus, and this is going to be 0.00035. You know, when I add these together, the first guess occurs right there, which means I'm going to round off to that column. It's going to be 0.006 plus 0.0035. I'm going to get 0.0095. I'm going to round off to this column. Nothing to do with the number of sig figs, everything to do with the place value. That 9, is it going to stay a 9 or not? Did I miss a 0? I missed a 0. That's why you guys are all looking terrified? So you get that. I'm going to round off to this 6. That 6, is it going to stay a 6 or going to bump up by 1? So 6, change colors, Mr. Dueck. 6 times 10 to the negative 3. Mr. Dueck, what if we said 6.0? Well, if you said 6.0, now you've rounded off to that one there. I'm sorry, you can only go to 1 sig fig in your answer in this question here. It's 2 marks. I would probably go something like this. 1 mark for the prefix, the mantissa, and then 1 mark for the exponent, and there's your 2 marks. Conversions. Hey, I can do that. 3 seconds. I want seconds to cancel. I want milliseconds on top. Milli is the same as 10 to the negative 3. Is the answer 3,000? Oh, not seconds, Mr. Dueck. 3 seconds is 3,000 milliseconds? Yeah? I don't know if I'll be able to do all these in my head, but the nerd within me is going to try. Oh, no, this is a 2-step. So 25 kilograms. First, I'm going to get rid of the kilograms. I'm going to go to grams. And I know that kilo is 10 to the 3rd. That's the same as 1. Then I'm going to get rid of the grams and end up in milligrams. And I know that milli is the same as 10 to the negative 3. So I'm going to get 25 times 10 to the power of 3 divided by 10 to the power of negative 3. And I get 25 with 6 zeros, or 2.5 times 10 to the 7th. Milligrams. Did I say you had to, thank you, did I say you had to write in scientific notation for this question? Nope, so if you have a 25 with 6 zeros, that's also fine. But this was less writing. 1 year into seconds, you might have memorized this, because I think we did this in our actual notes. That's a waste of my brain power. I can figure this out. It's going to be 1 year times years to days times days to hours times, you know, I've done enough of the homework that I actually do know how many seconds there are in an hour. I think it was 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. In fact, I think it's going to be 365 times 24 times 3,600. I think in 1 year, every year, you live 3.1536 million seconds. Or times 10 to the 31,536,000 seconds. I didn't say how many sig figs to go to. I guess I'll go to 5 just because it's not that hard to round off. So it's going to be 31536. Back to red, Mr. Dueck. 1536 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Units. Seconds. Now, before turning the page, if for any one of these you forgot to write the units, you lose a half mark, but only once. If you did it every time, I'm not going to take a half mark off each time. But one of the things I am going to be fussy on this year, Curtis, is you better add your units, because the units are actually going to cut down on your memorizing. One of the strategies I'm going to give you this year is to memorize what units go with what concepts, and then it's much easier to interpret physics questions. Trust me. Now turn the page. You can give yourself a little score at the bottom out of 11 if you want to, by the way. Perform the indicated operations with the correct number of sig figs. 1.25 times 0.5. 2 sig figs, so it's going to be 0.63. I'm going to be fussy here, all or nothing. You could also go 6.3 times 10 to the negative 1, but that's longer than to write it in standard form, so just leave it like this. 51.3 times 3.940 is going to be 3 sig figs. Right? 4.37. Try that again, Mr. Dueck. Scientific notation button. 3 times, Mr. Dueck? How about divided by 0.008560? I get that. Let's see. 3 sig figs, 4 sig figs, 3 sig figs, 511. So 5.11 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Do we have to write it like that?
No, you could write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that what it is? 511,000?
Yeah.
Yep. Mine's shorter and easier. Oh, adding and subtracting. This is not going to be 5 sig figs, 5 sig figs. This is going to be well, wait a minute. Trish, I've said write them vertically, but let's see if I can do this one without writing them vertically. What I'm really asking is, how many decimal places of information do I know? This one goes to the 3rd decimal place. The 3rd decimal place is right there, although that second one does go further. You know what? I'm going to round off to the 3rd decimal place. So, Valeria, I fibbed a bit. You can do these without rewriting them vertically. And in my homework, I'd probably try that. On a quiz, normally I wouldn't, but I thought I'd show you that it can be done. So let me go 38.002 plus 0.12378. I want to round to 3rd decimal place. I'm going to round right to there. Is the 5 going to stay a 5 or not?
Nope. I'm going to change it to
38.126. Which happens to be 5 sig figs, the same as both of your data. That's a fluke. Just so happens. Let's see if I can do E in my head without rewriting it. You know what, Halen? I think the furthest I go here is the 1st decimal point. I think I'm rounding off right to there. Let's do the math. 512.06 plus Mr. Dueck. How about minus 65.2? And I said I'm going to round off to that I'm going to round off right to there. Hey, that 8 going to stay or get bumped up? 446.9. Yeah.
Use the same method
For
for number 3. The answers
number 3?
yeah, because there's a 0 then.
Mr. Dueck might have done number 3 wrong because he was in a big rush. Oh. I have been informed, rightly so, that I have made an error. So I need to go back to number 3. I think I'm going to need to, first of all, erase. You are correct. There was a 0 there, which means actually if they put a 0 there, it looks like I'm going to round here because this is my first guess. So now let me try that again, my children. It's going to be 0.0060 plus 0.00035 equals, and I'm rounding off to the 4th decimal place. So do you get 0.0064? So it's going to be 0.0064, although this did say scientific notation. So it's going to be 6.4, that gets you 1 mark, times 10 to the -3?
Yes.
I'll remember this. How many of you got that right? How many of you got it wrong? Yeah, well, now I know who I have stuff in common with. By the way, like me, if you got that wrong, right now you're putting a little asterisk or a star or something, and you're getting mad at yourself, because I guarantee I won't make that dumb mistake again. I'll catch that. I'm looking for zeros from now on. That was a good mistake to make. His phone went off?
Yeah. It did a little sound.
Did a little sound? Why would it do a little sound?
No, I just checked it. I thought it was Robert's phone.
Mine's off.
If it goes again, because I didn't hear it, I was talking, and I kind of technically have to hear it, so he lucked out. You ready? Number 6 is a chain conversion. Number 6 is a chain conversion. How am I going to do this? I'm going to write down what they gave me. I phrased this one slightly differently from the Mr. Kamozi's wife question, but it's the same idea. What am I starting out with? What are we starting out with? What are they giving me to start out with?
Start with 48 barrels.
Yeah, I put it at the end this time, not at the beginning, but if you read it carefully, I think read what they're saying is start out with 48 of those. And then start converting. It looks like I can go from parrots to zebras. 1 of those, 5 of those. And then it looks like I can go from zebras to monkeys. 8 of those is 1 of those. It looks like I can go from monkeys to gorillas. And apparently 1 of those is worth 6 of those. And it looks like I can go from gorillas to lions, where 2 lions is worth 5 gorillas. And I think if I look at this chain, those will cancel, those will cancel, those will cancel, those will cancel, and lo and behold, I'm left with lions. So I think it's going to be 48 times 8 times 2 divided by 5 divided by 6 divided by 5. Double check. Looks good. Do you get 5.12?
Yes.
Now, you can make an argument, Mr. Dueck, you can't have 0.12 lions, so the answer technically should be 6 lions because 5's not enough. Yeah, fine. But I'm not going to freak out here. I was just trying to make up a question that allowed you to practice the chain. So 5.12. I'm not going to worry about sig figs for this question because it's conversion factors. 5.12 lions. For 3 marks, that would get you 3 out of 3. Otherwise, I would say this. For each chain factor that you're missing, take off 1 mark. Yeah?
I just put 5.1.
5.1, sure. I didn't tell you what to sig fig to here. So 5.1 is fine. If you're not sure how to get, if you got it wrong and you're wondering how to get part marks, just show me when we're done. Turn the page. Graphing. And there's a couple you looked like you had some trouble here, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. It says graph the following equations on the grid below and label each line. So the first equation, and I'm going to use blue, and I'll call that line A. Is the y by itself?
Yes.
Great, then it's in slope-intercept form, which tells me that's the y-intercept. And the slope is, what is x over 2? It's really up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. I think line A will look like this. So if you have a line A looking like that, I'll freehand it. Whoa, that's terrible. I won't freehand it. Pen properties, blue. And I'll call that line A. Line B, is the y by itself? Well, then it's in slope-intercept form, where that's the y-intercept, and that's the slope. So the y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. And the slope of -2 means count down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. It's going to look like this. By the way, to mark these, I give you a half mark for the correct y-intercept and a half mark for the correct slope, in case you're wondering. Let's try again. That worked pretty good last time. Whoop. Come on. That'll do. And that one I'm going to do in red. What's different about question C? Okay, y is not by itself. You did this last year. I think we did an example like this in our notes, but I don't think I gave you in the homework, but this is fair game as far as I'm concerned. Let's get the y by itself. How? Minus 3x. So you'll have negative 2y equals negative 3x and a positive 4. Now what? Divide by negative 2. You're going to have y equals a negative divided by negative, which is a positive, and a positive divided by, you're going to have that, I think. By the way, I probably, because I can move stuff back and forth, I would have actually plussed that to that side, the same as minusing that to that side, because I hate my y term to be negative, because that's when I'm going to make mistakes, and I just know that about me, but it's not wrong. There it is in slope-intercept form, and I guess I'm committed to doing it in green, so let's do it in green. Y-intercept of negative 2, slope up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. Is that right? If I were to draw this, let's see, kind of about there. Right-click, pen properties. Green. I guess I'm left with black. What's weird about this one? I gotta be fussy. There is a slope. 0, which is a number, by the way. No slope is actually a vertical line. That's undefined or no slope because there is no run. And when you go rise over run, since the run is 0, you're dividing by 0, which you can't do. But there is a slope here. Yeah, this is going to be a horizontal line. How high? And that's how I remember this. Jake, I don't see y equals 6. What I see is the height of your line is always 6, because that's what y means to me. So that's going to be a line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 high. An awful lot like that. And I forgot to label letters. So this is line D. This is line B. And this is line C. Generally, I mark these a half mark for the correct y-intercept and a half mark for the correct slope. But of course, if you got the right line, you're fine. Okay. Graph 8, or example 8, question 8. Now I'm asking you to tell me the equation. All right. The equation is going to be in template that. So in the first one, y equals, I'll leave the mx for now, but what's b in line A? What's m? Do I need to write the 1, or if I leave it blank, is it just understood that there is an invisible 1 there? It is? Then I'm going to go. I would give you a half mark for the correct slope and a half mark for the correct y-intercept. Line B. I generally, again, do the y-intercept first. And there's going to be an x there. The number in front of the x is the slope. What's the slope? Looks like down 3 over 2. Half mark for the correct slope. Half mark for the y-intercept. And you can give yourself a score, grand total, at the front of the page out of, count them, 25. And if you have any lawyering with me, now is the time. Anything you're wondering?